Would you look at that? They can win, just not very often, not consecutive games, rarely on the occasion. But thankfully, something positive to talk about tonight as the Colorado Rockies salvage a W in this series, taking down the Atlanta Braves 3-1 in the final game of the 3-game set. So it's not a sweep for Atlanta. The Rockies are able to lock in or lock on, for lack of a better phrase. Austin Gomber was phenomenal tonight, and he got just enough run support from the Rockies lineup. Let's break it all down tonight on your Locked On Rockies postcast victory show. Let's go.
You are Locked On Rockies postcast, powered by Mile High Sports, part of Locked On Sports Denver on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
What is up, everybody? Welcome on into your Locked On Rockies postcast. I am your host with the most, Aniello Piro. You can follow me on social media at Media by AP. Hope you guys are doing well out there on this Thursday night, September the 5th, as the Rockies get the job done tonight against the Atlanta Braves. Your final score, 3-1. You absolutely love to see it. And today's episode of your Locked On Rockies postcast is brought to you by Prize Picks. Go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnMLB and use code all lowercase LockedOnMLB to win $50 instantly when you play $5. More from our friends over at Prize Picks in just a few minutes. But this is Locked On Sports, your team every day. I think I already said my social handle, but in case I didn't, at Media by AP. And make sure to subscribe to the Locked On Sports Denver YouTube channel. That way you guys never miss an episode of your Locked On Rockies postcast. And for all of you football fans out there, I was watching the first half of the Chiefs and Ravens game. Football is back, man. College football's in full swing right now. Week 2 coming up. And, of course, Week 1, big test for the Denver Broncos against the Seattle Seahawks. I would not be surprised if they win that game, by the way. But we're going to have it all covered for you on your Locked On Broncos and your Locked On Buffs postcast as well. So make sure to subscribe to the channel. That way you guys never miss an episode. Okay, usually I try to bury the pitching. Usually I don't want to talk about the pitching unless I have to, which is more often than not because that's how bad it's been as of late. But today we get to lead with the pitching because Austin Gomber, I'm not even going to lie, man. I was not expecting this tonight. I'll come right out and say it. I was expecting another pitiful, sorry loss for the Colorado Rockies. Maybe like 6-1, maybe even getting shut out. I mean, they only scored 3 runs tonight. Thankfully, it was enough as Austin Gomber did a great job of keeping this Atlanta Braves lineup, this potent Atlanta Braves lineup, off of their balance tonight. And if you're a regular listener to the postcast, if you are just a Rockies fan or someone that, monitors the Rockies for betting purposes, whatever it might be, you know that Austin Gomber's kryptonite throughout the course of his major league career has been the first inning. His ERA is well into the double digits in the first inning in particular. And basically, if Austin Gomber is able to turn in a solid first inning, odds are he's going to put forth a quality start. And tonight, he didn't just put forth a quality start. This is the Austin Gomber that I think the Rockies were hoping for when they flipped Nolan Arenado and $50 million to the St. Louis Cardinals. This has got to be the best start of Austin Gomber's career, just off the top without thinking about it. He was dominant tonight, just mowed down the Atlanta Braves lineup under 100 pitches, even though he went 8 full innings tonight. His ERA down to 4.50. He gets the win, his 5th of the season. He's now 5-10 on the year. But 8 full innings pitched, only 5 hits allowed over the course of those 8 innings. 1 run, it was earned. To me, the biggest victory of the night, outside of the depth in which he was able to provide for this starting rotation and not having to tax the bullpen, no walks. Bradley Blaylock yesterday, I think I had 6, if I remember off the top of my head. No walks tonight issued by Austin Gomber. That is absolutely huge for him, as I mean, just really any pitcher, but in particular for Austin Gomber to have a successful first inning and then have it all kind of carry over there and just bode well for him. You absolutely love to see that. It's rare. Like, look at this pitching line again. 8 innings pitched, 5 hits allowed, 1 run. It was earned, no walks, 6 strikeouts. That is typically what is the word? A pitching line. Sorry, a little brain fart there for a second. That is usually a pitching line akin to that of who the Rockies are facing. Like, what was it? Charlie Morton last night just destroyed them. And it seems like more often than not, the Rockies are the ones who are getting that stat line put up against them. Tonight, it was the opposite. Although the Atlanta Braves starting pitcher, Mr. Reynaldo Lopez, actually turned in a good start for himself as well. 6 innings pitched, 5 hits, 2 runs, both earned. And he... Oh, you know what the funny part about this game is? Oh my gosh, I didn't even realize it. They still struck out 16 times. They still struck out 16 times and they won the game. Oh, yay. Oh, this Rockies team. They struck out 16 times for the second game in a row. Am I looking at the right game? Yeah, they won 3-1. Gomber. You can't make it up. You can't make it up. This is the second consecutive game in which the Rockies have struck out 16 times, 32 strikeouts in 2 games. In 18 innings, they've struck out 32 times. What? That's hard. That's hard to do, guys, and they somehow still managed to win the game. And I don't want to pour cold water on Austin Gomber's start because he was phenomenal. He was. But even a broke clock is right twice a day. This was a little bit of an anomaly for the Rockies, and honestly, an anomaly for Austin Gomber. He has been solid this year, but 8 innings, no hit ball or a 1-run ball. Odds are I don't know if we're seeing that again from Austin Gomber. Just to be honest with you, I'm sorry. I should have saved the strikeout discussion for later on in the show. But yeah, let's get back on track. We got to give Austin Gomber his flowers because he's a guy, who's been in and out of the rotation, this year, I think kind of in the rotation by default, with the injury to Kyle Freeland to start the year, Herman Marquez dealing with his injuries, Antonio Senzatella. So a little bit of some holes for the Rockies to fill in that starting rotation. And Austin Gomber has stepped up in that capacity. And this is a guy that's still fighting for a new contract, right? I believe he has 1 more year of team control and then he can hit the open market. I would think that the Rockies, just because they're the Rockies, are going to probably try to figure out a way to bring him back on the cheap. But, if he can continue to pitch, like this, obviously you're not expecting 8 innings like that tonight on every given start. Wouldn't that be nice? But if Austin Gomber can put forth quality start after quality start, he might pitch himself into a new contract. And, is that a good decision? Is that a bad decision? Only time will tell. But tonight, man, shout out Austin Gomber. He was phenomenal. And the big thing for Austin Gomber as well, I should have corrected myself. I was looking at the stat line and everything. He actually gave up the first run that he gave up, and the only run that the Atlanta Braves scored actually did come in the first inning. So, like I said, broke clock right twice a day, anomaly, whatever it might be. The baseball gods were on the Rockies side. I guess that's the easiest way that I could put it, because Michael Harris, the second, started out with a line out. That was the first out of the bottom half of the first inning. Jorge Soler then hit a single. Marcell Ozuna single. So a couple of death by paper cuts. He gets Matt Olson a fly out, and then Ramon Laureano hits an RBI single, which brings around Jorge Soler to score. But typically that is an instance where you would see Austin Gomber just kind of roll over. And, that's when you allow 1 run to become 3 to become 5. And then, before you know it, you're just completely out of this ball game. So you got to give credit where credit is due. Austin Gomber doing a good job tonight, clamping down, not letting that run in the first inning get the best of him, and putting forth one of the best starts, maybe even the best start from a Rocky starting pitcher this season. Can't think of too many great starts off the top of my head, but this one is certainly up there. So love to see it from big game Austin Gomber as he gets the job done tonight. Rockies win 3-1. And once again, folks, his stat line tonight, 8 innings pitched, 5 hits, 1 run. It was earned. We just went over that. 6 strikeouts, but no walks. That's the major takeaway for me outside of the longevity from him tonight. 4.50 ERA. And Tyler Kinley. Oh, what was it, last week with the disaster? Or maybe 2 weeks ago it was, when he was coming in out of the bullpen as the closer. My guy Willie C was in the comments as the Rockies blew that game. He got the save tonight. His 9th of the year, 1 inning pitch, clean, 2 strikeouts. Boom. Good stuff from the Rocks tonight. All right, let's hit our first break. When we come back, let's continue along with the conversation. We'll dive into the offensive production tonight. Michael Toglia doing some nice stuff out there. And as I mentioned, the Rockies lineup, not great, did just enough, but a win is a win. We'll break it all down when we come back right here on your Locked On Rockies postcast. Let's get into it, folks. Okay, and let me tell you about our friends over at Prize Picks, because Prize Picks is America's #1 daily fantasy sports app with over 5 million active members. Prize Picks is the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Unlike other apps, on Prize Picks, it's just you against the numbers. All you do is pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections and watch the winnings roll in. And guys, if you're looking for some awesome promos, our friends over at Prize Picks have you covered. Get a load of this. 1 Caleb Williams passing yard will get you 1 win on Prize Picks every week in September. That's right. Only 1 yard gets you an automatic win every football weekend in September. That's 4 weeks of free W's. Don't miss out on this deal on Prize Picks, because it is gone when September ends. Prize Picks is the only real money daily fantasy platform with an injury insurance policy. Ooh, you got to love that. So that your lineup stays in play even if one of your players gets injured. If your player leaves in the first half and doesn't return, Prize Picks, your picks are still live. Prize Picks invented the flex play as well, which means you can still cash out if your lineup isn't perfect. You can double your money or even more even if one of your picks does not hit. Download the Prize Picks app today and use code LOCKEDONMLB and get $50 instantly when you play $5. That's code LOCKEDONMLB on Prize Picks to get $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It is guaranteed. Prize Picks, run your game. Be sure to check out our friends over at Prize Picks. Download the app today. Use code LOCKEDONMLB and get yourself introduced with our friends over at Prize Picks. Okay, welcome on back into your Locked On Rockies postcast. I am your host, Aniello Piro. Hope you guys are hanging in there on this Thursday evening. Quick game tonight. Real quick game. It started at 5:20. It's 8:05, and I'm actually I was a little caught off guard with how quick the game was progressing. I'm like over here getting home, taking the dog, making sure everything's in order so I could sit down and do the show. And that's what happens when you got great pitching, just out after out after out after out. And Michael Toglia made mention of that on the postgame during his postgame press conference on the TV broadcast, that he believes that's the best he's ever seen Austin Gomber. And he even mentioned, he made a joke that it felt like he was almost falling asleep out there after the first inning, because Austin Gomber just did a great job of getting soft contact, getting weak contact. And again, we know that Austin Gomber has the stuff, but tonight is probably the best I think I've seen his curveball as well. Like, he was just dialed in. And I don't know if there was like something in the air, because it was very unlike Austin Gomber, as I mentioned, to give up a run in the first inning and then clamp down. But he does just that. So you love to see it. And, hopefully it's a sign of things to come. But let's talk about how the Rockies were able to generate their runs tonight. Only 3 of them. But as I had mentioned, it was just enough tonight, thanks to the outstanding performance from Austin Gomber. So we mentioned how Atlanta goes up 1-0 there in the bottom of the first inning. And you love to see this. Michael Toglia responding for the Rockies lineup, his 22nd home run of the season to center field. That tied the game up 1-1. And Toglia, sneaky with the 22 home runs. I know that the batting average hasn't been great. He's only hitting 216. You need to see that get up, closer to 250 if you want to be an everyday player. But Michael Toglia, has really turned in one of the better seasons by Rocky standards, I may add. But one of the brighter spots, I would say, right? Toglia has been up and down with the organization for at least 4 or 5 years now, it feels like. And he's never been able to stick. And, one door closes, another one opens, is the old saying, right? Well, I like forget that Chris Bryant is even on this team, to be honest with you. But with Chris Bryant not playing right now and really not playing over the course of the last 3 years, basically, it's opened up an opportunity this year for Michael Toglia. And I think his defense has been solid at first base. I like the approach at the plate. I just wish that there was a little bit more. I just wish he wasn't as much boom or bust. It seems like he's either hitting a home run or he's striking out or he's grounding out, whatever it might be. So I'm looking for a little bit more consistency from Michael Toglia in the batter's box, but 22 home runs speak for themselves. And I know, it kind of is what it is with the Rockies at this point, but it's never a bad thing to have power bats in the lineup, especially playing at Coors Field. And, Toglia was asked the question on the post-game press conference, him, Doyle, a couple of the other guys that have 20-plus home runs. There's a little bit of a gentleman's acknowledgement. I don't think there's any gentleman's bet or anything like that, but all these guys are pushing each other because who's going to end up being the team leader in home runs? You got a couple of guys there that are floating above 20. So, you love to see it tonight from Michael Toglia, a guy that's been a little bit of a journeyman type of player with the Rockies, up and down, up and down, up and down. And, he's able to generate some positivity tonight with that solo shot, a critical one that tied it up at 1-1. But as I mentioned, a little bit of an internal recognition and battle going on for the home run leader for the Rockies because Ezequiel Tovar broke the 1-1 tie in the top half of the 6th inning. He blasted also his 22nd home run of the season. So Michael Toglia and Ezequiel Tovar both with 22 for the Rocks. And this guy just continues to get better and better. And I was able to catch a brief moment of the post-game show with Drew Goodman and Ryan Spielborgs. And I thought Drew Goodman made a great point that we've always known that Ezequiel Tovar is extremely sound defensively, like a very, very good defensive shortstop, one of the best in Major League Baseball. But this year, Tovar, without looking off the top of my head, he was hitting 225, not a very good productive hitter for the Rockies last season. This year, he's maintained the level of play at shortstop defensively and has added a tremendous amount of output on offense. Again, his 22nd home run of the season. And if you look at Ezequiel Tovar, he's not a guy that you expect a ton of power from. I'll be honest, I'm not sure the Rockies knew that he had this type of power. And maybe it's a flash in the pan. I don't think so. I think I've been on record saying this. I think Ezequiel Tovar is the absolute truth. The Rockies are able to draft and develop shortstop just like the Green Bay Packers are able to draft and develop quarterbacks. I mean, you think about it. Troy Tulowitzki, Trevor Story, and now you've got Ezequiel Tovar. That's 3 consecutive, essentially generations, for lack of a better phrase, of shortstops that the Rockies have, drafted, developed, homegrown type of guys. And Ezequiel Tovar, I mean, if this is going to be a guy that's going to be able to hit 20-plus, 25-plus home runs a year with that Gold Glove defense and keeping that batting average up, he's hitting, where are you? He's in 270, which is actually down from where it was in about June and July, which is still pretty good for the Rockies standards at 270. I mean, you might have the future of baseball at shortstop. I don't think that's an understatement. I said it earlier in the year when Tovar was on that absolute tirade. He needs to be talked about the same way that Ellie De La Cruz and O'Neill. Ellie De La Cruz and O'Neill Cruz. Sorry, 2 Cruzes there at the end. Throw me off for a second. He needs to be talked about in that light. And, Francisco Lindor is a guy that's making a push here for an MVP. It's going to probably go to Shohei Ohtani, of course, just because he's having the inevitable 40-40 season. But Ezequiel Tovar is not far off from some of the best shortstops in Major League Baseball. And again, I didn't expect this type of offensive production from him in this season, but if he's able to establish a solid baseline and be a real threat in the middle of this Rockies lineup, I mean, that is only going to bode well for them moving forward. And I talk about it all the time on this show, guys. The last couple nights I was a little fed up. I love doing the shows. I will never complain about doing the shows, but I was a little fed up with guys, come on. You're rolling over. Again, they're not the White Sox, but Rockies ain't that much better. And, when you get a win like tonight and you see the guys that are stepping up, it makes you feel good, right? It makes you a little bit optimistic. It makes you excited for what's to come. And I love the core, at least in the lineup that the Rockies have. Brenton Doyle, rock solid. Ezequiel Tovar, rock solid. Nolan Jones, if he can get healthy and revert to form in 2021 and 2022, 26 years old, that's a guy that you can build around. Drew Romo is a guy that they've been very high on for a long time. jury's still out. Let him struggle right now at the end of the year. Zach Veen's still coming up. What is it? Charlie Condon, who they just drafted out of Georgia, I believe. He's going to be a slugger. And so, the Blake Street Bombers, for lack of a better phrase. I know that no one's ever going to recreate the 90s version of that, but that style of baseball, I think, is hopefully going to return sooner rather than later for the Rockies at 20th and Blake, because you're seeing some of the foundation being laid this season, and I think they've got some nice quality pieces in the farm system that are going to continue to elevate them. So a couple of solo shots, one off the bat from Michael Toglia, one off the bat of Ezekiel Tovar, both the 22nd home run of the season for both of those players. That is how the Rockies scored their first 2 runs. Then Nolan Jones was able to bring home a run with a sacrifice fly there in the top half of the 7th inning. So nice little insurance policy there from Mr. Jones. And as I mentioned, Gomber, great performance, and the lineup did just enough, and somehow they still struck out 16 times. They still struck out 16 times. I'm not going to go on a tangent about that. I did that a little bit in the first segment, and it's a victory show. So why don't we talk about good things? But speaking of good things, why don't I spread the good word with a message from our sponsors right now? We'll come back after that and put a bow on the show. We'll take a look at what's coming up next for the Rockies and all that jazz on this victory show installment of your Locked On Rockies postcast. Stick with us, folks. All right, first time I think I'm doing this read. Ibotta. They were the official sponsor of the Denver Nuggets. So playing a little at home here with our friends over at Ibotta. But let me tell you about Ibotta, because Ibotta is the free app that lets you earn cash back every single time that you shop. Earn on hundreds of items from groceries to beauty supplies, even toys, so you can make sure you're beating inflation no matter what you are purchasing. The average Ibotta user earns $256 a year. That could cover the cost of an entire shopping trip, that flight you've been eyeing, or the fancy dinner that you've been craving. Other apps give you points that don't amount to much. With Ibotta, you can earn cash back that you can withdraw to your bank account, PayPal, or in gift card form. Simply add offers in the app, upload your receipt, and voila, the money is yours. You can save on over 2,400 brands and shop at over 1,000 retailers, including your favorite grocery stores, Lowe's, Macy's, Sephora, Best Buy, and more. It's time you joined the over 50 million users who use the Ibotta app to earn cash back every time they shop. Right now, Ibotta is offering our listeners $5 just for trying Ibotta by using the code LOCKEDONMLB when you register. Just go to the App Store or Google Play Store and download the free Ibotta app to start earning cash back, and use code LOCKEDONMLB. That's Ibotta, IBOTTA, in the Google Play or App Store, and use code LOCKEDONMLB. And once again, folks, right now, Ibotta is offering our listeners essentially a free $5 just for trying Ibotta by using the code LOCKEDONMLB when you register. I mentioned, you see the little sponsorship logo on the Nuggets jersey patch. You know they're connected here in Colorado. Be sure to check out our friends over at Ibotta. Download the free Ibotta app to start earning cash back, and use code LOCKEDONMLB when you sign up. All right, moving right along here. Welcome on back into your Locked On Rockies postcast. I am your host, Aniello Piro, as the Colorado Rockies get the job done tonight with a 3-1 victory over the Atlanta Braves. Austin Gomber, dominant, and that is not an understatement. That is just the truth. He looked like a Cy Young candidate out there. Obviously, he's not. Obviously, this is the best start of his season. But that was prime Austin Gomber, probably the best that I've ever seen him. So you love to see that tonight from Austin Gomber with those 8 strong innings. We talked about the home runs with Toglia and Tovar, sacrifice fly from Nolan Jones, but just a quick baseball game. And thankfully the Rockies come out on top. Tyler Kinley with a save as well. So, and it's one of those situations where I talk about this even when they lose, right? This season's just dead. Right? Like, they're going to lose 100+ games for the second year in a row. They're hung out to dry, 1-2-3 Cancun. This is the last month of the season, a few weeks left, right? And then it's all over. And it's one of those situations where you can maybe struggle to pay attention. You can struggle to stay active with these games. But thankfully, the Rockies tonight showing you that, hey, we can still come out here and be competitive. And this is an Atlanta Braves team that is hot right now. The Rockies also did my family a favor. My family's a bunch of Met fans, and thanks to the Mets win and the Braves lost tonight, the Mets and Braves are actually tied for that for a wild card spot now. So shout out the Rocks. But Atlanta's 76-64. I know they're not quite as good as they have been in years past. Injuries have absolutely played a factor into that. But this is a quality win against a quality opponent. Quality win against a quality opponent that has had your number since over the course of this entire series. So, at the end of the day, it's still a series victory for Atlanta, and of course a series loss for the Rockies. But I just think a win like this is something that I think you can hang your hat on at this point in the season. Maybe from an individual perspective, like you got Michael Tollier probably feeling good, Ezekiel Tovar is probably feeling good, Austin Gomber's feeling good, but also just to get that win. Right? Just to get that victory feeling back into your system. Because when you're playing uncompetitive game after uncompetitive game and bad starting pitching and bad bullpen and lifeless offense, it can be demoralizing. I mean, last night was demoralizing. The game before that on Tuesday night that felt like a Monday, demoralizing. Baltimore, right? Like, I mean, it's just like there's been Tyler Kinley last week or 2 weeks ago. Right? There's just been you get knocked down so much that it just gets a little bit harder and harder to get back up each time. And I'm talking about that from the fan perspective. Obviously, a little different when you're a player, but those losses as a player, I could imagine as well wear on you. And just having a look at Buddy Black, who it looks like on the inside he wants to explode. Look at him having to kind of put his game face on and do these post-game press conferences. It's just nice to get nice to get that taste of victory again, right? And we'll see if the Rockies can try to parlay that into something special here in their next. I shouldn't say special, but just something competent rather in their next series against the Milwaukee Brewers. And, I guess we'll just have to wait and see. But loved what I saw tonight from Austin Gomber and loved the continued production from Ezekiel Tovar. And like I said, like if Tollier can just get his batting average up and, just provide a little bit more positive consistency out of the batter's box, he might actually find himself with a close to everyday job next season. And I don't know if that's a good thing necessarily for the Rockies, but 22 home runs are 22 home runs, right? The Rockies can take any home runs they can get at this point. They'll take any run production they can get. So we'll see if Mr. Tollier can do just that. But all right, before we get out of here, folks, let's take a look. Early start time tomorrow here locally. Let's take a look at what's coming up on the schedule for the Rocks. Two interesting start times. They are traveling to Milwaukee. They're going to get in at the crack of dawn, the early morning hours, probably right before the sun comes up in Milwaukee. And they've got an early start time tomorrow, 4:10 p.m. first pitch Mountain Time. So that's 5:10 out there in Milwaukee. So on top of having to fly in the early morning hours, they're going to have to turn around a little bit quicker fashion against the Milwaukee Brewers. But it will be Ryan Feltner on the mound. And he is 1-10 with a 5.11 ERA to pair with 115 strikeouts this season. Taking a look at it, last time out for the 28-year-old, that came on the 31st of August against Baltimore, and he got rocked. 4 2/3 innings pitched, 6 hits, 5 runs, all of them earned. Gave up 2 home runs in that one, walked the batter as well, but did punch out 6. So you're looking for Mr. Feltner to try to bounce back. He was good in his start before that against the Miami Marlins. 5 strong innings, 7 hits, 2 runs, both earned, and 2 walks. So we'll see if Mr. Feltner can deliver a positive start, a quality start for the Rockies. And Frankie Montas, as I mentioned, on the mound for Milwaukee, 6-9 with a 4.70 earned run average. Taking a look at his last time out against Cincinnati, also on the 31st of August. 6 innings pitched, 7 hits, 4 runs, all of them earned, 1 home run allowed, 3 walks, and 4 strikeouts. So that is your pitching matchup for tomorrow's game, the series opener against the Milwaukee Brewers. And the Rockies do not have any additional starting pitchers listed for that series. So we'll see which direction Buddy Black and company decide to go on that front. But again, let's see if the Rocks can build some momentum. Let's see if the Rocks can try to play spoiler here down the stretch. Milwaukee's obviously going to make the playoffs at 81-59. They've had themselves a nice season. But anytime you can beat these playoff teams, it's good for the morale. It's good for playing a little spoiler type of role. And frankly, down the stretch, you're playing for pride right now if you're the Rockies. So we'll see if they can make it 2 in a row. with that 4:10 p.m. Mountain Time first pitch in Milwaukee as the Rockies get ready to take on the Brewers. But all right, that is it for me tonight, folks. Rocks take down the Braves 3-1. Good stuff from Austin Gomber. Good stuff from Tolia and Tovar. And that is all she wrote for you on tonight's installment of your Locked On Rockies postcast. Enjoy your Thursday evening, and we'll be back at it again mañana for a Friday installment of your Locked On Rockies postcast. Have a good one, folks, and a good victory show tonight.